And okay, so data manipulation language. So we just talked about what is the difference, right? Now this time with the DML commands, we are working on the data in our tables. We either delete the data in the tables, we don't touch the structure of the table though, or we are, for example, inserting data into tables, we are updating tables, and so on. So what is the difference between alter and update? When do you use update tables? When do you use alter tables? Let's say if I want to, for example, add a column to my current table. For example, I have a student table and I want to add a column. What do you do? How do you do that? Which clause do you use?
Insert into?
So you insert into the student. What do you insert?
Are we going to insert a column or a row?
Yeah, I'm going to add a column to the student table. So what does the insert statement do?
It adds a row, kind of an instant of that attribute.
Exactly, add instances of the data, right? So, for example, let's say you have a table with, which is even empty, right? And then you insert data into tables. Or insert a new row, like you already have some rows, you add some more data. So it's about the data, and that's why I said insert is a DML command. And that's why I mentioned that the reason I covered insert in the DDL was only to show you a sample of like the real table, okay? But in general, insert is a DML command. Now, if I want to add a column, what command do you use? What SQL clause do you use? Yes? Alter, right? So you use alter because it's a DDL command. So first you have to ask yourself, is this change on the structure of the table or on the data in the table? So for example, if I want to add a column to a table, is this change related to the structure of the table? Yes. You're adding a column to the table. That's exactly the structure of it. You're changing the structure. Now, so because it's a changing the structure, so you have to use a DDL command. We want to add a column. We have to use alter, right? Now, you alter this table, for example, adding a column, and then the rest of your code. So another example is with the select statement. So for example, you want to select, for example, staff name and salary, and these are the column names, okay? So let's say you have a column employee where you have, or a staff, where you have staff name and staff ID, staff name, salary, with the department that the staff is working on, and so on, right? But you don't want to see everything in the table. You don't want to select all the columns. You only want to select a staff name and salary. So this is how select works, right? So you can specify which column you want to get, or if you want to select everything, you just use a star. So whenever you select a star, it just retrieves all the columns. Now here, it means that we are selecting staff name and salary, so these two columns, from which table? From the staff table, where salary is greater than 15,000. So unfortunately today, I cannot do a hands-on because my monitor doesn't work. And so the IT promised to fix this before our next session, which I fully spend the full session on hands-on. But I'm going to explain the codes today, so it helps you with your assignment. Now, I know it will get a bit boring, but just bear with me for like half an hour, and then we're done. So this is an example of a select, example of inserting data into a table, which we know already. We covered it last session. Now, what if you want to update a column in a table? If you want to update a column of a table, is this change related to the structure or the data? Data. So should we use DML or DDL command? Should I use alter or update?
Update.
Update, right? So we use update the staff. We want to update the data in the staff table. We want to set the column salary equal to salary multiplied by some numbers. What does it do? Let's say they want to increase my salary, right? So set salary, increase the salary where staff ID is my ID, okay? Delete from staff where staff ID is 540. Now, what is the difference between delete and drop that I mentioned at the beginning of this session? Anyone else? So only like a few of you are listening to me. Someone from there. What is the difference between delete and drop? So what happens when I'm, for example, deleting from the staff table where staff ID is 540?
You're deleting that row, the row of that ID.
Yeah, so is it a DDL or DML command? So is this change related to the structure of the table or the data?
It's DML. It's related to DML.
Exactly, DML, right? You are updating a data, you are deleting a staff from your staff table. So it is a DML command and it only deletes, even if it deletes all the rows from the table, right? It still just empties your table but keep the structure. Now, this is the general form for data retrieval. If you want to get some information or retrieve some information from your table or tables, you start always with select the statement, select, followed by the columns that you want to get. Let's say you have a very large table with, I don't know, hundreds of columns. You don't want to like list all the columns, or maybe you don't want to like get all that columns in your result, but you are only interested, let's say, in a few of those columns, in like 5 columns out of 100 columns. So you want to specify which columns, and that is where you select. So you write select, and then write in the columns that you want to select, or write star, select star, right? If you just want to select everything. Now, from the table or tables you want to get your data, where your condition comes. So, for instance, if you want to select students whose, let's say, GPA is A+, right? What is the condition here? A student with A+ GPA, right? So, if you have a column GPA, right, that goes to your condition. So, for example, you select a star. Let's say you want to get all the columns. You select a star from the student table, and you put that condition in the where clause, where GPA equal to, for example, A+. Or if you want it to be in a range, let's say A+, then you say, okay, where GPA in parentheses A+, right? And I've never felt this much disabled in my life. I have nothing to write here or there. So this is, I think, the most boring times in my classes. And group by, just helping you to group the data into rows. And I'm going to explain, I don't know how I'm going to explain, but try my best. Having always comes after group by. So there is a difference between having and where, and I'm going to explain. So when we use group by, we are aggregating our data. So for example, let's say we want to, for example, find the average salary of employees in each department. Let's say we have like 10 different departments, and we want to find average salary for each department. We want to find it for each department, right? So what does the result should look like? We want a result something like a table with distinct department IDs, right? Each department for which we calculated the average salary, right? For example, here you want to have department ID, here the average salary, and then you have your department IDs here and salary. So you don't want to have like repeated department IDs, right? Now, How does that work? With the group by. So you select, for example, the columns you want and average salary. We have an aggregated functions average in SQL, which is very helpful. So you use average salary from, let's say, the table that you want to select from, employee or whatever, from the employee table, where here comes your condition, right? And then group by. Which column you want to group by? If you want to find average salary for each department. Let's say I want to find average salary for each department. So what is the column that we use group by on?
Department.
Department, right? So we want to group the data based on that. And so for each department, then we'll have like the average salary. And so having, if you wanted to add further conditions on the result of a group by, that is after you aggregated your data, now you have some additional conditions, that is where you use having, okay? So what's the difference between where and having? Because where is where your conditions are. For example, if you want to find students whose grades are greater than, I don't know, 90%. If you want to find employees who are working in a specific department or any other condition that you have, always goes into where. Unless you have a group by, and then after you aggregated your data, you're having more conditions. And I'm going to show you the examples. And finally, order by is just sorting your data. So let's say you want to find employees, but you want to see them in sorted by their salaries in descending order. So let's say you want to see the top 10, for example, salaries, employees with the highest salaries, right? That's you can sort your column based on that. These are the different clauses that we have, like select distinct, where, order by, group by, and so on. These are everything that we cover in this class and next class. What is the difference between select and select distinct?
For distinct, you only select the distinct, like one instance of, like, say it's multiple, you only pick one.
Exactly, distinct values. Let's say I want to find, it is sometimes very actually helpful. So I want to see what are the, you have a table with thousands of rows, and let's say you have a column which has only 4 or 5 like distinct values, right? Let's say it's what could be an example? For instance, maybe a color, right? You have products colored, and you want to see, for example, how many distinct colors you have, or what are the distinct colors in your tables, and then you select distinct. Instead of showing you, let's say, hundreds of thousands of rows, it only shows distinct values, right? And so, select specifies the attributes or columns to be returned by the query. Select distinct show only one instance, okay? And from is just specifying from which tables you want to select your data from. Now, here's an example that I wanted to do our hands-on based on this example today, but we'll do it next week. But let's say we have these 2 tables, okay? So we have a staff table, we have the organization table. The staff table is basically your employee table, a table with all employee information, like the staff ID, name, department they are working in, department number, job, whether they are manager, sales, so on, years of working in the company, salary, and commission, okay? And then in the organization table, we have department number, name, manager ID, division, and location, okay? Now, this manager ID here, what type of column is this? Foreign key. Which column is it referencing to? Staff ID, right? Because managers are also staff. For example, let's say manager ID 10 is Sanders, right? Manager ID 30 is this guy, Marangi maybe, right? And so we also have the vision and location in the organization table. So these are the information in these two tables that we have. Now, I only show you screenshots today. So if you want to show the tables and everything in it, you always select the star from the table, okay? So select the star from student, select the star from staff. So it only shows you, like it shows you everything, all the columns and all the rows. Now, this is, now if you want, for example, select specific columns, I mentioned that you have to specify those columns in front of the select. For example, let's say you want to only see staff name and years. So you want to see a staff name or job and years. What do you put in the select statement? So in your assignment, when I specifically ask you, find, for example, staff name, let's say job and years, you don't write select star, okay? You write select, staff name, job, salary, because these are the three columns that I asked for. And now, let's say I want to find staff, job, and years, but sorted by years in descending order. What do? How do you sort your results? So first of all, if you want to select like these three columns, you write select, then staff name, job, salary, right? From which table? Staff table. And so I'm going to use order by, right? Because I want to sort the result. Now, order by what? I want to sort them based on the years. So order by year, right? Now the default is ascending always. If you don't specify anything, it's ascending. But let's say you want to find them from like the highest number of years or like the most experienced employees to the least experienced. Then in that case, you write select, staff name, job, salary from staff, right? Order by year. I also have to include year in the select part, where year is, for example, order by year descending, right? Now, this is when you select only one column, for example, from the table. And about select distinct, you can see the difference now, right? If, for example, you select job from staff, it shows you the job column with all the rows, right? But if you write select distinct job from staff, it only shows you distinct values of the job, right? So it only shows you manager once, sales once, right? All distinct values. Now, let's say I write select distinct department number and job from staff. What does this one do? So this table is the result of the first query, which is selecting the star from staff. What does this query do? This just select everything from the staff table. So this table is the whole staff table with all the columns and the rows. Now the second query is selecting distinct department number and job from staff. Now, does it select distinct departments? No. You see the departments here? Are they distinct? No. D2N is repeated. Does it select distinct jobs? Again, no, right? But the combination now is distinct, right? So it doesn't, it may not show everything again, but selecting distinct department number and job from staff. So the combination now is the same, the distinct. So I explained order by and where. So order by sorts the results. Default is ascending. If you want it to be descending, you have to specify descending. Where, just filter your rows, and that is where your conditions come. So here is an example. Now let's play with the order by a little bit, because sometimes you want to order by several columns. And sometimes you want to order by, for example, let's say 2 columns, 1 column ascending, 1 column descending. So let's see different combinations, how it works. So for instance, the first query is selecting department number and staff name. So let's see if I can. Okay. So the first query is selecting department number and the staff name from staff order by department number. So what do you expect as a result? A table with 2 columns, right? The staff name and a department number. And order by department number. Is this sorting department number in ascending or descending order? Ascending. Default is always ascending, which means it starts from the smallest number to the highest number. So department number D15 comes before D20, comes before, for example, D38, and so on, right? And now, if you just order by department number descending, which row will be first?
D42.
This one, right? D42. So this is the descending one. This is the result of the descending one. Now, let's order by 2 columns. So, for instance, if you want to order by, if we select department number and staff name, again the same columns from the staff table, order by department number and staff name. Okay. So, what is the difference? First of all, which column? This query, this one, which column the first query stored and in which order? So we order by department number and staff name. What does it mean? So what do you expect to see in the result? Do you expect to see department number sorted? How about staff name? Is it going to be sorted?
I think the priority is gonna be with the department number. If the department number are the same, then it's gonna use the other, like the staff name, to categorize them or sort them.
Yeah, correct. So it prioritizes. So it sort by department number in ascending or descending order. We didn't specify, so the default is ascending. So it sorted department number. It's sorted by department number in ascending order, which means we'll see D15 before D20, before D30, before D42. So as you see, we see D15, 20, 38, and 42. Now, we also have, for example, D20 repeated 5 times, D38 repeated several times, right? So how do we know, for example, D20 James should come before, for example, D20 kernel or standards, right? Do you see an order here? Yeah. So within each department now, the staff name is also ordered, right, or sorted in ascending order, which is the default, right? But in general, if you look at the whole table or the result in general, is a staff name like this column, is this sorted? No. Like this is not sorted. So you see, for example, O come before L and so on. But within each department, for example, D20, you see James come before O'Brien, before Fernald, before Sanders. So A, B, C, D, E, F, it's alphabetically sorted, right? In ascending order. Again, within D38, Lou and Merengue, Lou comes first, right? Because L is before N. Now, the second one. Now we select department number, staff name from staff. Again, the same columns from the same table. Order by department number, staff name, descending. So, can anyone tell me what does this do? Like in terms of sorting. So, which column or columns are sorted and in which order? I'll give you a small bonus to anyone who explains it clearly.
Second.
Give you a bonus. I'll give you a bonus.
Sorry, what's the question?
So the question, okay. So from now on, anytime you want to ask a question, I'll give you a bonus. So you listen to me. So And if anyone asks me that question again, I'll give her a penalty. So, no, I'm joking. So, the question is, which columns in this, like the second query, which columns are sorted and in which order? How the sorting here works. So I'm looking for someone who didn't speak yet. Yeah.
So it's
I'm going to zoom. Can zoom further.
slide 7, right?
So it's select department number, staff name from staff, order by department number, staff name, descending.
That would be so it first sort by department number,
Yeah.
ascending order, and then if there are
It's first order by department number. In which order?
as ascending from,
Ascending. Yes.
and then if there are duplicate department number,
Mm-hmm.
then it will sort those values by the descending order of the staff name.
Exactly. Okay. So just give your name at the end of the class. So I'll give you a bonus. That's very easy, right? So it prioritizes the first one that we mentioned after order by, which is department number. So it sorts department numbers in ascending order because we didn't specify anything here. Or you could just write ASC. It's the same. Which means it sorted departments. So this is the result. As you see, it sorted departments in ascending order. But because we have duplicated departments, now we want to see how do we want to sort out the first names within each department. Now, how does it do it? In descending order, because we explicitly specified descending. Does it mean that the staff name column is sorted in descending order? No. It means the staff name is sorted in descending order within each department. Okay? So for instance, in department D20, standards come before kernel because S is after T, right? And we are sorting descending. Or for example, in D38, Merengue comes before Lu because again, N is after L. So this is about order by. And more examples, you can see again the difference if you, for example, the query remains the same. The only thing that I'm changing is adding ascending, descending with different combinations of ascending, descending under two columns. For example, the first one is selecting department number, staff name, again from the staff table, order by department number, staff name, descending. So you can see the result. So it sorts department number in ascending, staff name in descending. Now both descending, which means it first sorts the department number in descending order, which means we have, which department we have first? B42, right? Then B38 and so on, and B like 15 at the end. And within like the same departments, then we have, we are sorting the staff name also in descending order. So, also you can do some arithmetic, forgot the name, actions on the columns. So for instance, let's say we have two columns, salary and commission, but you want to find the income, right? The total income of the staff. So you can select, for example, staff ID, and then salary plus commission as income. So always if you want to give a name to a column, you use as, okay, AS, and then it add a column with the name income, as you can see here, which didn't exist in the table. Now a question, does it add a column income to the table staff? No, because select is a DML command, which is all about the data retrieval, right? It's about the data. Now we only created this column now for the results, for better showing or visualizing our results. But it doesn't change the structure of the table, right? It's not a DDL command, so it doesn't change the structure. The staff table still doesn't have the income table, income column. Now, what does this query do? It just finding the income of the people working as like salespersons, right? So here comes your condition always in the where clause. Is this clear? Okay. Sometimes it's clear in your mind, but not really. Other people cannot understand you. I hope this is not the case. So, what about this one? So we are, let's zoom in a little bit. So selecting location, staff name and job from staff and organization. So this query is using join, which I have not covered yet, but I'm just mentioning join is where you are, when we are using joins when we want to get data that is coming from more than one table, right? For instance, let's say you want to find the grades for like specific students, right? Then you have student names here, but the grades here, right? So the data that at the end you want a table, in your result you want a table showing, for example, a student name and grades, which come from two tables. So you have to join a student and enrollment. So the same here. We want to find, for example, the location, a staff name and job. But like this information, if you look at the two tables that we have, the staff name and job are in the staff table, but location is in the organization table. So if you want to find which department or location like these employees are working in, you have to join these two tables. How? One way is just to specify those tables in the from. So instead of selecting from only one table, you select from table 1, comma, table 2, and so on. And in the where comes how you join the tables. So where the staff department number is organization department number. Not always, but let's say 90% of the times when you join tables, when you write a query to join tables, in your where clause, you join them based on the foreign key. Because most of the time, the foreign key is what links the two tables together. So if I'm selecting, for example, a student name and grade from student in comma enrollment, right? What should I write in the where clause? Where a student's SID, right, is equal to enrollment SID. Because SID here is the foreign key that links these two tables together, right? Otherwise, how can I get data from two tables? I'm going to join them, link them together through the foreign key. So I have to mention that somewhere, which comes in my condition, right? In the where clause. Now, I said 90% of the times, because sometimes tables have more than one links. Sometimes tables are connected through more than one column. And I'm going to show you later, just don't get confused. I'm not going to overwhelm you. And so here, what is that foreign key column? Department number, right? And order by location, staff name. So now let's get you actually overwhelmed. So I said we connected these two tables here by department number. Department number is a foreign key in the staff table, right? And that is why when I join these two tables, I use department number. Now, why? Why did I say 90% of the times? Can you show me another column in these two tables that is common in the two tables or can be used to link these two tables? Anyone else? Yeah.
Could it be the manager ID and the staff ID?
Manager ID and staff ID, they are the same, right? So as I mentioned before, these two columns refer to the same thing, right? Because a staff can work as a manager, right? So let's say I have an employee number at York University, right? As an instructor, I have some employee number. But I may also serve as, I don't know, area chair. I may work as like associate dean or like other managerial roles. We didn't change my employee number. No, I still have the same employee number at York, but I have another role, right? So as you see here, for instance, this is a role of a manager, this is role of a sale, and so on. So manager ID and staff ID is another column that can link these two tables. Later, with the example queries that I'm going to show you, you'll see how important it is to understand if you have like example tables like this that have more than one foreign key column that link to tables. So the foreign key department number is easy, you can always identify that. So you know how to join tables based on that. But like in rare cases, not rare cases, but in this class rare cases, we want to join tables based on the other column. And I'm going to show you an example. And you see how the result will be different. If you join these two tables based on the job, based on the manager ID, or joining them based on department number. So this is an example. So now, what does this query do? What does it do? Which column are we selecting? 3 columns, location, staff name, job. Why are we selecting them from 2 tables? Because staff name and job are in the staff table, whereas the location is in the job table, so we have to select from both tables. Now, because we are selecting from both tables, we have to join them. How do we join them? One way is writing this way, without explicitly using join. This is one way. And you put that like link between the 2 tables in your where condition. We often link tables based on the foreign key, right, which is the department number. And we order by location, staff name. So how does it sort the results? Based on which column is our priority? Everyone, please. Location. I know you're tired. Location? Yeah, location. In ascending or descending? Ascending, right? So we expect to have Atlanta before Boston, right? Because A is before B, and then finally Washington. And then staff name. Now within each location, how does it sort the staff name? Again in ascending order, which is the default because we didn't specify anything. What if I write order by location, the staff name descending? Then it again sort by location in ascending order, which remains the same here. But if the staff name is descending, if I specify descending, if I add descending here, then I would expect Naseri comes before loop, right? I would expect, for example, for like within the same location of Washington, which one comes first?
Sanders.
In descending order, Sanders, right? Then Sanders should come first. Right now, because we didn't specify anything, the default is ascending.
But what if the first letter of the first name of the staff name is the same? And so we should go to the second letter?
Second letter, yeah. Okay. And, okay. Okay, so what if you want to find the top 3 staff with the highest salaries? So, this is why, for example, I mentioned if you are using MySQL or SQLite, you have to note the differences, like the small differences between like the SQL statements. For example, if you are using MySQL, you know how to address these. For example, if you want to find top 3 staff with the highest salary, you can just write the same query, like select, for example, a staff name salary from the staff table. And then you can also, like for getting like the first 3 rows, let's say not even sorted, like you want to get the first 3 rows, you can find the, you can use the limit, right? You can write limit 3. Let's say you have a table with hundreds of rows, and you only want to see a preview of like the first 10 rows. So you write limit 10, which shows you only those 10. And you can add like this limit at the end of like any query if you want to get only like a limited number of rows. But in SQL Server that we are going to use, if you write limit here, then you will get an error because it's not defined here. You use top 3, top 5, top 10, okay? So these are the small differences that you have to know. So here is what you write. Select top 3 staff name salary from staff order by salary. What does it do? So first of all, if I didn't mention top 3, and if I only select, if I write select staff salary from staff order by salary, it shows me all the staff, right? So for example, in the staff table, if we have 10 employees, it shows me all 10 employees sorted by their salary in ascending order, from the lowest salary to the highest salary. Now, because I used the top 3, it shows me the first 3 rows. So the top 3 alone doesn't, what I want to mention and emphasize is that the top 3 doesn't mean that it gives you the highest salaries. The reason that you give the highest salary is because you use order by salary, right? So what does this query do? It sorts the table based on the salary. Now let's say in the staff table you have 10 employees. So you have 10 rows, sorted 10 staff sorted by their salaries, and then you only want to see the top 3. In this table, the top 3 are the top highest salaries, right? If it is descending, sorry. Now it is actually the 3 lowest salaries, right? If it is ascending, which is the default here, it shows you the lowest salaries. So it gives you James with 13K, 17K, 18, right? These are, if you look at the original table, a staff table, you can see that these 3 employees have the lowest 3 salaries there. And if you add descending here, what do you get?
The highest.
Highest, 3 highest salaries. You can use several predicates in your work conditions like arithmetic operations, comparison, boolean, and so on. And I also provided some examples for like in. For example, if you want to search for a specific string, if, for example, all the names starting with W, right? Then you write W, then this percentage means anything after that. Doesn't matter, but it should start with W. Or if you want to have anything that includes boot, right? For example, if I write it this way, does it return something like reboot? Yeah. Does it return, I don't know, boot camp? Yeah. Now, if I write W, does it return something like Washington? Yeah. But does it return something like old? No. Yeah.
Is it case sensitive?
Yeah. And in is used for comparison of a value with a set of values where department number in D20, D30, A, D40. These are some more examples. It's very helpful for writing your queries for your assignment. For example, if you want to find something between numbers, or for example, employee days greater than this. This is one of your queries, right? So this will be helpful, for example, in those cases. And I will finish in 5 minutes. Just reviewing group by quickly, but we'll have a full hands-on session next week to practice more and also covering join. But I'm trying to cover as much as I can so that we can proceed with your assignment too. Although I'm going to extend assignment to extension, but still, please try to submit it soon because I'm going to release assignment 3 earlier. So for those of you who want to start earlier. Now, as I said, group by is grouping the rows of your data, right, based on sharing the same value. What does it mean? So, most of the time you're using group by with aggregate functions. What are aggregate functions? Average, sum, count, right? For example, you want to find the number of employees working in a specific department. You want to find number of students who failed in a course, right? So in all these cases, you can use an aggregate function count. Let's say you want to find the sum of, for example, a specific column. I don't have anything in mind right now. Or average, for example, average salary, minimum, maximum. So these are examples of count, sum, average, min, max are examples of aggregated functions that you have to know. One very important thing is that your select statement is only limited to grouped attributes and built-in functions. What does it mean? Whenever you're using group by, in your select part, you cannot write any column that you like. So your select part is limited to only what was specified in the group by. In this case, is department number, right? And or aggregated functions. Any other column that you use in combination with aggregated functions like sum, count, average, and so on. And I'm going to explain that why. So first, let's see an example. We are selecting the department number, count star. What does as do here? Just give it a name, right? Give the column count star. So instead of, in your result, instead of seeing count star here, I want to have it like a clear and clean result, seeing staff count. Instead of average salary like this, I want to see average salary and minimum salary. So these are just to give it a name. And so we are selecting department number, count star, average salary, and minimum salary from the staff table, because all this information are in the staff table, grouped by department number, ordered by average salary. What does this query do? Yeah?
Does it put all the staffs in the department number with the sum of average salary and the minimum salary in here? Like the total count of staff in that department?
Yeah. Counting number of staff, count star in the staff table. The star is everything, right? When you select the star, means all the rows, all the columns. Count star means counting everything in the staff. What does it mean? Counting all the rows in the staff table means counting all the employees, right? If you want to find number of employees, average salary, minimum salary, and so on, right? For each department. Why for each department? Because I wrote group by department number, right? So if I want to find average salary for each department, right? I select department number, average salary, right? From the staff table, group by department number, right? Now, can I write select department number, staff name, average salary from staff group by department number? And you don't see any problem with that. I repeat, in my select part, I write select a staff name, department number, average salary from staff, group by department number. The answer is no, but why? The answer is that it should give you an error, but why? Yeah?
Did we have the staff name? Like,
Staff name is the problem.
Okay, so it's not.
Yeah. So I said whenever you're grouping your data, when you use group by, because it groups the data by department number, right? So how do you know which staff name should write, right? Because in each department, we may have hundreds of staff or many employees working in that department. And your result looks like this. I have nothing to write, sorry, but in your result, you have something like this. You have Department 1, right? Average salary of employees in Department 1, let's say it's 100K. Department 2 is 200K. Department 3, something, and so on. Now, if I add staff name, in each department, let's say Department 1, we have many employees. And so that is why your select statement is limited to a column that you specified in your group by, which in this case is department number, because we group the data, right? and or anything comes with the aggregate functions. Because when I write, can I write the salary? Please. Can I write select department number, salary from staff, group by department number? No. Can I write average salary? Yes. And it's clear now, right? Because if you're going to write salary, okay, salary of who, which number? We have many different salaries in each department for different employees. But when we write average salary, we know that we are getting the average of salary of all employees. And that is why your select statement is limited to only what is in the group by and aggregate functions. That's it. Have any questions?